How do you feel yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it's always very different, so you just have to accept whatever is there. So.
What did you sense today?
Today? I had maybe a different, quite a special sense of how the time was passing somehow. I was very, it didn't feel long, but it also, I don't know, there was something very distinctive about the way that I perceived the time in this particular, I think, performance.
What do you think?
I couldn't figure out if it was too fast or if it was too slow, or it was a question somehow, like a question mark. Because other times I'm very sure of every minute somehow, or like almost counting. But today I was like back and forth, and is too soon yet, or am I too fast, or it's going really fast and I perceive it slower somehow.
How long does it take, the performance today? How long was it?
53. So.
53. So it's a little bit longer.
No, it's always around, it's always less than an hour, it's always less than 55 minutes, I think.
And what did you sense from the audience?
They were
Does
very
it make
receptive.
any difference that you are in Hungary, or?
Yeah, no, totally. They were very attentive, I have the feeling. Also at the beginning, because the beginning is quite challenging, like, so I had the feeling that even though you saw already two performances, or I didn't have the feeling that you were tired or something.
And I'm really curious about it because watching your performance, I started to be so very sleepy, and others started to laugh, and I had a moment when I started to look at the audience. So it became much more interesting to me to look at the audience, to look at the reactions, than the performance itself. What is your aim? What is your aim performing?
Somehow I don't have one aim, or there's no one direction. Like, I think I cannot tell people what to feel or what to do or what to do with it. So I'm bringing a proposal and I'm just leaving it, I'm giving it to you. So whatever is there, I'm responsible and you're also responsible. So it's not, there's no one way that you should behave, or it's just a proposal, and then we see everyone is different. Like, I cannot take for granted every personality. Like, we all have a different fascination, or like a different way of perceiving, or a different reason why we are here in the theater. But somehow I would like to embrace that more than make it homogenic, or so in that way I feel completely responsible of your feeling, but it's not that thing or the other one, or it's not one thing.
You were performing a process, basically. What was the main element of your thinking? I mean, really, what did you want to do?
I wanted to find a mechanism, like a physical mechanism that will oblige me to be every second in the moment. So it's almost like a rhythm, or it's almost like it's so insistent that I was somehow trying to be here every second. That was my main focus.
And you succeeded in it?
I have no idea. Like, for me, it's also not about succeeding or not, but it's as I told you before, it's like it's a proposal, and I bring 100%, and the audience brings the other 100%, and together we can make it happen. It's not about me or my feeling or how did it go for me. It's a combination somehow. So there's no perfection in that way, or there's no success, or it's very open in a way, maybe in a very specific way. That's what I try to do also, like try to be as specific as possible within this process that you call process somehow. Like somehow a process, it's something that it's in construction. There is not something that is finished, that it's being presented somehow.
You worked in wood, and I checked pictures about your performances, and I see that you worked many times. Why you worked?
Somehow this performance was the first time that I worked with wood. Then I did 2 more performances where there was like also wood. I don't know, I have a fascination to work with elements, and I like it wasn't enough to work once, so then I tried again, but it was also not something that I was consciously searching for. It's something that it appeared, or like it happened to me, or like there was sort of a metric that I wanted to work with, or like, for example, the table can become like a measuring tool, like measuring the distance of the space, or like enables me to see the space in a different way, because you have this big piece, and then you can compare, like, I don't know, in comparison with the ceiling, or like the distance to the wall, or like the height from the floor. So then I kept working in that direction, and I was trying to dissect. In the other piece I made, like that, dissecting the image with beams of wood, and in the other piece I made, it's very static, like there was wood everywhere, and it's very still. I mean, nothing moves, but somehow the wood has this, I don't know, because it belonged to, it has an alive quality. Somehow the space was vibrating. That was the impression that I had, that without any movement, there was movement just because the presence of the wood.
I would like to ask the audience, what was your feelings watching this performance? Or is it about feelings, or it's more about an art piece? I mean, giving conceptual meanings around it, or what is your approach?
I don't know about that question, but I'll answer the first part about how I felt. I felt like you were in physical danger. Are you in physical danger?
No, but it's quite extreme. It's very demanding, and I have to prepare myself. Every time I do it, I have to do it at least 3 times. 3 days before each performance, in order to get it back. But it's quite extreme. But I never had like I was fainting, or I never get dizzy. I think I also like to work with this acceleration. So. It became somehow like.
Different state of mind you're in, or you feel?
Yeah, it's very weird, because somehow it's so concrete, it's so material. Like sometimes I feel like I have no idea how am I gonna continue, like where I'm gonna take more energy, or like I'm really tired, or sometimes I feel I don't know, I'm dealing very much with every point. I become very sensible, so it's not that I am in it. It's very material, so it's not that I'm somewhere else. It's on the opposite. I'm totally here, like in my foot, in every position. Especially at the beginning, every centimeter, I'm really there somehow. I feel the floor, or like the quality of the air, how warm are the lamps, or like the movement in the audience. So it's very, how do you say, like attention, like very aware, yeah, like extreme awareness.
When you were doing this first part, you weren't really facing the audience. I mean, you were showing mainly your back, and even when we could see your face, you were closing your eyes. You do it in purpose? I mean, do you do it in purpose?
Yeah, I mean, not really in purpose, but somehow I see what you mean. And there are sometimes I do it, it's more open, others it's more...
I was asking you because I think it was a bit easier for me not to see your eyes, because I felt that you were in physical danger, and if you were like looking at my eyes during it would be really uncomfortable for me. I don't know if it helps to you as well, not facing an audience, or it's just like this, I don't know, yeah.
No, so for example, tonight I was trying, if I'm doing the sound here, then you hear it differently if I do it there. So then, just how to make it more rich in that sense that it's not always in this direction, but it can go in every direction, and the space will change my sound rather than me consciously changing. So that's why I try to face in all directions. But it's true, there's something very... I also try to find another way of communicating more than this frontal relation, because somehow, even though I'm not looking at you, I'm so invested in what is happening that somehow I'm as with you as if I would be looking at you somehow. Like,
I really love the first part when you were doing all the chanting, reading, shouting. But I think the second part, when you started to use elements, that in a way for me it broke the piece. I mean, for me the first part it was fantastic. I thought it was just a lovely piece just by itself. So I was a bit confused when you brought other elements that broke completely the flow of what happened before. So I don't know how you thought about the whole thing. How do you put it together? Why did you bring that at the end?
Yeah, when I was in the process, like constructing the piece, I felt like, because the first part it was so demanding for me and for the audience, I felt like I wanted to bring something else. Like it was not the end for me, like to do half an hour and that's it. Like it was too. It was too dry, so I wanted to somehow take advantage of the opportunity that I was in the theater. So I wanted to bring like light, like sound, and to kind of expand the moment. So bringing add something that is quite different, so you can look at what just happened in a different way. Like not. You can take a little bit more distance, so you can look at it differently. Instead of finishing there and that being, it felt like a very hard statement somehow. to do. I almost envision it like to literally bring some air into the room, like change the air around.
I wanted to ask about the quality of the changes. Did you really work on them or it came naturally, especially in the beginning? Because I felt that somehow I know by experience that it comes really easily to shift faster. And you had really specific timing that you kept the repetition but you didn't transform until a certain point, and then you made the shift and then you kept the thing for, I don't know, for me the timing was very specific. And I was thinking if it comes naturally for you or if it was really a choice that you worked on it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and when I was rehearsing the beat, somehow I was just going for the time. So I was saying like 20 minutes, and I do 20 minutes, and that's it. And the first structure somehow that appear is like the parkour somehow, like the path, like. So very simple. I said like I will do that. I will go along that line and that curve. But yeah, then it became a question like, because once you're rehearsing once, a second, a third, so then things, they come back and then somehow they stay, and I'm always fixing a little bit. I stay with what I know. So it's always a challenge to kind of open that up again. So that was always a question, but since I'm doing like this piece, I did it for the first time in June 2010. So it's almost like it's 2 years already that I've been doing it, and in this particular constellation, I feel like I leave it completely open. So that's why the transition, I have the feeling it comes slower, or like there's less changes, because before I was like bringing a lot of change and it was very drastic and sometimes very slow. Now it's a little bit more, I leave it as how it goes, not so deliberate. But I think the repetition of doing it so many times brings this specificity but I don't know how to talk about it more technically, or it's something that I think it's something that comes with time. Like when you invest time in something that is so rigid, somehow, yeah, something different starts operating.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if you travel with the piece, did it happen that it didn't work, or if it worked in a different way you expected?
Yeah, it was a challenge to be able to travel first with it, because somehow it's so demanding physically that it doesn't fit. Like it's nice when I'm at home and I have my routine, you know, I have the normal things I do. But when you are somewhere else, everything's different, and so that was a challenge somehow to be able to be in a different city with such a investment of energy. But I had, it depends very much on the sizes of the space. Like once I did it in a very small space, and it was a total failure because it was so claustrophobic. Like I couldn't get my own space. The audience, I was like in the face of the audience, and it didn't make a change if I was on the back or if I was on the front. It felt the same. So it was really like a total disaster, I had the feeling. And so somehow the bigger the space, the better. Also the sound works very differently. Sometimes it's so, there's no echo at all. So I have to like kind of push, and nothing comes back. Sometimes when I feel the echo, somehow I give energy and then that brings energy back. But when you are just putting energy out,
Yeah, it's a lot about vibrations.
yeah, then it becomes a totally different sensation. But then I always try to just stay. But I think the main complication is the size, like how big is the space and how this vibration with the sound works. And that you cannot really see until I'm there, like in the venue.
Yeah, some people said already. I think also I've seen actually a young man who's really decisive to withdraw, and it's very decisive to be exhausted, to know your limits. There's this great book, Exhaustion. I don't know if you read it. It's a little book, but it's like it sold million, and maybe you should read it. But that's why my question is like, do you feel like there's a lot of young men out there who feel like you want to know the limits and like where's the point of exhaustion and what is actually what I'm doing here in this society? That's actually what I felt when I walked in Budapest as well, when I walked in Berlin.
Yeah, like this, I see what you mean. Somehow it always, even though when I started doing this piece, I wanted something completely different. When I was working alone, the only thing that came out was this somehow, and I see what you mean. That it made me have this more aggressive, or like this feeling of a lot of energy. But then I was trying to, how can I modulate that, or how can I, make it so long that it's a little bit over, So it's not only exhaustion, but it's something else. If I could just add a little bit more, or like, then if it's so constant that it wouldn't be exhaustion anymore, but maybe it can be this, or maybe you can wonder if it's something else, or like, so. But I totally agree with you.
Well,
but I don't know.
What
Yeah.
really attracts me in this piece, like you really kill it all in the end. You know what I mean? There's no time for fantasy, there's no limit in the end of like writing. That's why even that is the destruction, because you can't enjoy. You know what I mean? It's like so it's very decisive. Really go for, really kill it to the end. And there's no, if you're having like a family, for example, you're always thinking out responsibility for other people. You know what I mean? It's like you don't really, before you kill the last little thing, you just really, okay, is that, you know what I mean? But this is so decisive, young man. Like this is something in which this is a topic like I'm attracted to, too. That is a feeling really I could see in a lot of young faces of young men in other Western society. That's what I just felt when I started to see.
I'm also agree that this first part of 30 minutes is much more art than the second one. And for me, this second part is sometimes too much. Because you say it's much more about dance, going down the dance floor, than destroy this table or link with X, for example. So you actually design sound from your body, and of course the important is not the size of the space, but the material in the space, and you have the story, the sadness, and emotions, everything in this sound and production of the sound. So if physically it can be possible to prolong it more and cut all these things, I think it will be quite difficult. That's my opinion.
I had the opposite feeling, or rather not the opposite feeling, but I thought that maybe the second part was what you created first, and that the first part maybe was to give us an experience where, I don't know how to explain it, but so that after the first section we would be feeling physically everything you do somehow, that it was to get us to be empathizing with your body and feeling and movements with what you're doing on the stage with the wood and with the air. But that was really what I felt as opposed to these gentlemen. But whatever.
Yes, because as I have seen this performance, I almost felt the same. Why did he put this wooden stuff up for the end? But then I watched again the video and again the piece, and I started to discover the feeling in myself that I don't care if it's a piece or not. I really believe in him, what he does on stage, and I think it's a unique thing. This statement, this deepness, even with standing there with the stuff to kill the wood. I'm really like on a way together with you in this, and I'm just witnessing the pure energy and the simplicity, which I rarely find in dance performances. So I was really happy, and especially tonight, I was kind of like proud of being Hungarian because he got this wooden from a Hungarian supporter. I didn't really want to add. This is my question, if at all you have differences in how you kill the wood.
No, totally. I mean, so stiff. Sometimes it's really heavy wood. Yeah, in Poland happened once, so it was like so well made that it took like ages. But what happened now here was the axe is so heavy. I never had such a heavy and long. So that made it really like, if I would think I would hit there, then it was going there. So it was like, bah! So that's why it was so.
It's the process.
It was intense.
Because you cannot practice this. So it's real. When it happens, it happens.
Yeah, I cannot travel with this weapon. You know, I cannot have my own.
I agree with what you said. This is unique, really unique, and no, we cannot see contemporary dance and theater performance in general, I would say, with this power, not energy, because energy is energy. But this is another story. So, and because of this uniqueness, when he comes to the second part, then that is not unique. We can see someone else can do the same.
I disagree because it was unique because of the first part.
Okay,
that was my opinion.
so that what he's done is completely fractals, but I will not go in theory with that, and synchronicity, what he's doing here is very interesting in some way.
I mean also that when we talked about the first part, which was like that you were in the physical danger, that I felt that we as an audience were in the physical danger somehow, because when you were moving the X, there was the moment when we just waited, when it crashed and made this ugly noise, and also with the wood, you know, where you were moving, we were a bit scared what you will do with it then. So for me it makes sense in this way.
Yeah?
I don't know, I don't feel you're in danger at all, to be honest. It's interesting that this comes up as a topic because I don't feel that at all. I feel you're totally in control. And also, I find it also funny this question why the first part and the second part, because for me that's not a question. It's a choice, and for me they're totally the same thing. In a way, like the way you deal with the body as material is similar to the way you deal with the wood as material. And what you do with the wood is what you do with the body, I think. So yeah, that's, I guess, and that's in a way linking back to exhaustion, because of course, in a way we're very similar, and very used to that in society today, because like in a way, what is this work? I mean, also in the end you do this work, but you're doing also this work with your sound, because it's such a, you know, it's a really static thing. And I think it's really like you're executing it. And that's linking back to this exhaustion and work and our relationship to work today, as this kind of almost religious act that we do it for something that we don't know what is coming after, but some kind of savor, you know, some kind of relief that maybe doesn't come.
Yeah, it's a non-productive space in terms of work. It's funny because they also say it's productive, and in here you don't have to do something. There's another mentioned person, right? You mentioned Henry Bergson.
Okay. Is there any other question left inside? Okay, thank you for coming.